Welcome to the Inside Nutley Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Greco. I'm pleased to be joined by Nick Cozzarelli, lifelong Nutley resident and a recent graduate of the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine. Also joining us later will be the Dean of the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine, Dr. Jeffrey Boscamp. Let's start out with Nick. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You were the third Nutley native to attend, and this year you became part of the fourth graduating class of the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine, located right here in Nutley. What does that mean to you?
It means the world to me. I mean, to achieve your dream in your hometown, this is something I've been thinking about since the age of 11, that I wanted to become a medical doctor. And to have the opportunity to do it in the place that I love, Nutley, and really, I've been playing it in the park across the street, Nichols Park, my whole entire life. So to see this school and to see Roche be transformed into a place that I feel actually was put here for me when it was first announced, and then have the opportunity to attend it with some of my other Nutley natives like Mache Kabat, who's lived 5 houses away from me. He and I were started in the second cohort in this school. And then in the inaugural cohort was Lainey Buckowit, who has been a mentor and a lifelong friend of mine as well. And she's actually in orthopedic surgery residency as well, like I am. So it's great to have them as well.
So your focus is on orthopedics?
Yes, so I am in my orthopedic surgery residency. So one of the most exciting days of medical school is the match day, which happens in March, which is a very suspenseful day when you open a letter and you're figuring out which specialty and which hospital you'll be training at. So I applied to a bunch of programs, interviewed at them, and then ultimately came down to I ranked those programs and they ranked me, and then a computer algorithm determined it all. And luckily I was able to get my first choice, Hackensack University Medical Center, the #1 hospital in New Jersey for orthopedic surgery residency. So it's great to be able to remain within this Hackensack Meridian network, to continue working with the medical school that I love so much in this Nutley community, as well as working towards my next dream of becoming a specialist in orthopedic surgery.
Tell us about your experience at the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine.
The experience has really been from the moment I got here. I remember on the first day of orientation, you just felt the welcoming presence, and that this was a new medical school. I was in the second class in the history of the school, and they wanted us to succeed. Everyone was enthusiastic about the mission and vision that the school is founded in, and you just really felt that welcoming environment. So for me to meet all these people that had a similar dream of mine, that, from the faculty to my fellow colleagues, it was really just uplifting, because we were so focused on what we wanted to achieve and how we wanted to impact the world, while also having a good time and focusing on what makes life beautiful. And then just to be a part of the growth of something new. This school is really a blank canvas. From the get-go, being a new medical school, you have the chance and the opportunity to help grow something and impact change. So the school has always been very cognizant of our feedback that we've been giving them from the day we started here, because if something is new that they were putting in place, they wanted to hear how it went, what was good about it, what was bad about it, and then if it wasn't working out well, then they'd change it, and if it was working well, then they'd do more of that. So to have that opportunity to contribute to cementing something and really changing how medical education is delivered has been an amazing opportunity.
But seriously, Nick, how difficult was the commute for you?
Yeah, the commute was really not a difficult one at all, because all I did was had to walk down the street, and it was almost as much of a commute to my elementary school, Spring Garden School, SGS, we are the best. But I would just, instead of turning right towards Spring Garden, I'd go left towards the medical school. So I couldn't ask for anything more. I could see the medical school from my bedroom, and it's just really special to, have this full circle moment of being a little kid playing in the park, always wondering what it was like inside the med school, which really felt like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, the high security of Hofland Roche, always wondering what was going on inside, seeing all these people going in and out. And especially as a young kid, your curiosity is just running wild. So to have that opportunity the first day I stepped into this school, it was just mesmerizing, especially given so much of my family has worked in Hofland Roche, and I've heard about so much of it over these years.
All right, so you're a Spring Garden kid. Tell us a little bit about your memories of that time.
I loved Spring Garden School so much. I still remain in contact with a few of my educators from there. A few of them actually attended my medical school graduation. So I owe Nutley schools and Spring Garden so much of my foundation. You know, I was always the type of person that loved school, and it was really what got me up in the morning. I just loved to do things well in advance and just put my energy into learning something and receiving that kind of feedback. So I really was able to develop a strong foundation of who I was in terms of education. I owe a lot of it to my really good lifelong friend, Corey Durando, who we always say we were rivals in 6th grade of who was gonna be at the top, and we still would compare report cards and everything. So we had a lot of fun, and Spring Garden, the educators there were incredible. The principal, the leadership, was great, and you know, I still think so fondly of that school and everything that it, you know, provided me for my lifelong learning.
In Walker Middle School and high school, Nutley High School, is that correct?
I did go to John H. Walker Middle School. I was fortunate when I graduated 6th grade, I actually received the John H. Walker Memorial Scholarship. So I still consider that, you know, it was a young age, but one of the biggest honors for me at such a young age, you know, to embody what Mr. Walker, his spirit and his energy and everything he believed in, and have others to see, you know, some of that in me, was just really something that set me on, I think, a really great path moving forward throughout the middle school and then ultimately to high school.
What are some of your favorite memories growing up in Nutley?
I think just in the youth of getting to enjoy the moment, particularly Nichols Park. Back then it was Castle Park. You know, it was a very unique place that it's not like these modern designs of park. It was a wooden park that had a lot of nooks and crannies. So getting to, you know, have that sense of creativity from a young age, right, you know, in my neighborhood, and getting to explore that and the Nichols Falls. I spent a lot of time just playing in the park right across the street. And then, you know, it was things like skateboarding and riding bikes around town with my friends. You know, I had different groups of people that I really got close to, and we would go out and we'd make dirt jumps to ride our bikes on, and we'd skate around town, and just really being able to play all day long in our beautiful park system in Nutley, which, you know, attracts the younger generations, and now, you know, for homeowners and people who are looking at Nutley as a place to live. The parks are always, though, it spans across all generations. So those early memories of growing up in the park system of Nutley is really, I think, what I look most fondly back on.
When did you first realize you wanted to be a doctor?
I was 11 years old. I was in 6th grade, and you know, a lot of it has to do with the influence of my father, who's a foot doctor. His office is in Belleville. We live in Nutley. You know, my parents both grew up in Belleville and then moved to Nutley ultimately. But, you know, obviously my father had a big impact on me. But, you know, being exposed to that from a young age and just seeing the work that he does, I spent a lot of time in his office as a little kid. You know, looking back, maybe it was a little gross, but sometimes if it was a patient that, you know, he would know, I would come in at the end and then rub lotion on the feet, you know, given that he's a foot doctor. But, you know, to just help out. But, you know, getting that early exposure, and then I think I've always had a very reflective personality. So I just started taking a look at myself and where I personally felt my heart and where, you know, my concern for others' well-being, especially my family, where that all stems from, you know, it would fit well. And then as I got older and, you know, went throughout high school and joined the different different clubs, pre-medical and medical interests, and then went through our undergrad, everything just confirmed everything that I, you know, those initial thoughts that my personality did fit medicine, that when you show up, it's not actually work, it's just you're using your skill set that you've spent time to learn and you've mastered, and really you're just listening to someone say what's going on with them. You listen attentively and you just use what you've studied. So it really never seemed like work to me.
You graduate high school and then you attend Seton Hall. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so the attending Seton Hall was really influenced by the Nutley Sun, because it was about a week or two before my college decision day, my senior year of St. Peter's Prep, and all of a sudden I see medical school coming to Nutley on the front page of the Nutley Sun, and they announced the affiliation between Hackensack Meridian Health and Seton Hall, and I knew at that point that it wasn't in writing that if you attended Seton Hall that you'd have a better shot at the medical school. It's just something I inferred But I attended Seton Hall. I chose to attend Seton Hall based on the Nutley Sun newspaper and just what I thought could be the potential benefit of being a student there. But attending Seton Hall was incredible. All the professors there, particularly my pre-med advisor, Dr. Roberto Moldau, really helped to form, who I was. Even my professors in the non-science classes, some who had a very big impact on me, Dr. Inez Marzaku, Dr. Charles Shea, they really influenced, my perspective on life and just helping me to grow. And then the Italian studies programs, Seton Hall has the largest Italian studies library on the East Coast, the Valenti Collection. And I was very involved with the Italian students organizations. I was a regular attendee of the Charles and Joan Alberto Institute programs that Dr. Gabriella Romani would put on. And I really enjoyed being in, the Italian studies, because medicine is what I feel is my calling. But my true love and passion in life is my commitment to my Italian heritage, preserving my family's immigration story and everything that is the Italian culture.
Obviously, you have a huge passion for your Italian heritage. Was that instilled by your parents?
Definitely. It never was lectured in the sense that you need to do these things, but it was just a part of our lifestyle. So, my mother, Margaret, spends a lot of time, cooking these beautiful meals and putting on family gatherings and doing things, a lot of it driven in food and cuisine to preserve our culture. And my father is in a similar way in terms of the preservation of the history, bringing people together to reflect on, the journey. It's things he always done. It's things that I, was just surrounded by. So it was never like that they told us that I need to study Italian my whole life, you need to learn the Italian language, but it was just what I was immersed in and what I gravitated towards. And, for as long as I could remember, I knew I was Italian, but I didn't know what it meant to be Italian until I got older and started spending more time. But I just knew innately that I loved being Italian. I loved the food. I loved the gatherings. And when I just started really spending the time to reflect on what that all meant, it just meant it became such a much greater significance to me. And, I'm very grateful for both my parents and, all of my family for really for being what I was born into, and I just had the opportunity to really expand on these interests and these seeds and make it grow.
I think a lot of people would agree that Nutley is the right town to do that in.
I tell people Nutley is the Italian-American paradise of America. So I'm probably the biggest salesman of Nutley in terms of Italian culture. So much of the population Italian, so much of it, we have the parade, we have all these different pizzerias, great restaurants, and it's, the bakeries. It's really a big benefit, a big plus, and, I think more people need to know about Nutley in that regard.
You were going to school here when the pandemic hit. What was that like?
I started school in July of 2019, so I started those initial months as a normal medical student, getting to attend here, meeting my friends, and then it was in that early 2020 when, the world changed for everyone. And the school did an amazing job at transitioning from, in-person learning to remote learning. Since Hackensack Meridian Health is a statewide health system, a health network, they already were using Zoom to do, meetings. So in the whole week before we may potentially shut down, they prepared a whole system in place to put our education on Zoom. And as soon as it was announced that we were shut down, they were prepared. There was no delay in terms of delivering our education. So when we went into those courses, we had no pause. So while the world was learning how to make bread and picking up all these different hobbies and knitting and this and that, us medical students were just in our home doing exactly what we would have been doing here.
Was there anything specific that you did here at the school during that time?
I think in terms of how we responded, I think the world was just very focused on, everyone was focused on how they could contribute to this massive problem that's, changed the whole world. So just across from the medical school that's just affiliated with us is the CDI, the Center for Discovery and Innovation, that was doing groundbreaking work to, develop tests and diagnostics to target COVID, different therapeutics, that were being studied throughout the network. And then in terms of what I was fortunate to be able to do is when vaccines were first deployed, in the state of New Jersey and throughout the country, the Hackensack Meridian Health partner with the New Jersey Department of Health, and they started the Meadowlands Mega Site, which it started as this large site at the old racetrack, and the medical school really was able to fill a need for volunteers. And I was lucky that in the sense that I was appointed as the student lead of those efforts. So from the first day I attended it, it was with Dean Miriam Hoffman, Dr. Hoffman, and then now Dr. Catherine Hahn. She was a medical student at that point, but now she's a pediatrics resident at Hackensack as well. But we, Dr. Hoffman, Dr. Hahn, and myself, all attended the Meadowlands Mega Site for the first day, representing the School of Medicine. We took this initial assessment. That first day, we were vaccinating collectively as a site 400 people. By the end of the efforts, we were able to vaccinate more than 4,000 people per day, and it was the most successful site in the state of New Jersey. So it was not just the medical school's efforts, it was the Hackensack Meridian Health Network, it was the New Jersey Department of Health, it was the School of Medicine, it was FEMA, the National Guards, the Rutgers School of Pharmacy, different Hackensack Meridian Health volunteers. So, it really took a village to do that, a tremendous effort. But having my opportunity to, work with so many of these great leaders like Dr. Jeffrey Boscamp, our dean, our late and great founding dean, Dr. Bonita Stanton, Dean Miriam Hoffman, and a lot of different leaders at this school and throughout the whole entire network and the state was really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I knew when we were going through it that, this obviously was a historic moment, but, when I really was sitting back and reflecting, it's like, it just, it was really an opportunity that it was really an opportunity that you felt the gratitude of so many different people, who were getting vaccinated at that point, who were just wanting to engage with people. So to have that opportunity to be a part of something like that was really special in terms of my learning in medical school.
How do you think that experience will help you in the future?
I think it just will give me the sense of no matter how big a problem is, you just need to stick to the principles and focus on how you could find a solution. And so much of that mentality is from our late and great Dean Bonita Stanton, Dr. Stanton, she was a woman that was a giant in healthcare. She was a pediatric doctor, but she really just had this spirit that she could solve any problem in the sense that all we need is just to stick to the core principles. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes persistence. It just takes drive and no hesitation. So she was really one that instilled it in us and instilled it in me. So getting the opportunity to work with her at the site and just hearing that one-on-one perspective with her at the Meadowlands Mega Site will be something that carries me throughout my whole entire career, because I think no matter how big the problem is, it's just focusing on staying grounded and moving forward.
This summer, you begin your orthopedic surgery residency at the Hackensack University Hospital in Hackensack. How exciting is that?
It's amazing to go to the number one hospital in New Jersey. When you're applying to residency, especially in orthopedic surgery, which is a pretty competitive specialty, a lot of people are just willing to go wherever they want. But, truthfully, I told people I don't think I could leave, so much of what makes me me. My family's here, my culture's here, and to step away from that, the Nutley community, it would have been very hard. And, just the different opportunities that have presented themselves with New York City so close to us and all the different things going around. So to be able to go to Hackensack University Medical Center where there's, cutting edge technology, they're on the forefront of new breakthroughs and different advances in medicine, it's really just a tremendous opportunity that I'm just so grateful for, and I couldn't ask for anything more. There's really no place I'd rather be.
All right, here's where we play a little game. I'll just say a phrase or something, and and get your first reaction to it. We do this with everybody, by the way. Your favorite Jersey Shore town?
Probably I'd say Manasquan. My family and I, we had a house in Point Pleasant, and then we had a house in Seagirt, but we always went to Manasquan Beach. And just the community there, we always loved Manasquan, and I think, I have some great memories there. So Manasquan, I actually wrote my college essay on the Manasquan jetties, just having fun running on there. And so that was always a special place for me.
Springsteen or Bon Jovi?
I'm going to say Bruce Springsteen.
Giants or Jets?
Jets. My godfather, I give my loyalty to him, Robert Cozzarelli. He's a diehard Jets fan. He was actually inducted into the Jets Hall of Fame. And after the COVID draft, when they had Roger Goodell's chair on the stage, he was actually the Jets fan who was sitting on that first round pick. So, I give my loyalty to my godfather, and I like the spirit of the Jets being the underdog and, still keeping that positive mentality even when things aren't great around you. So, you can learn a lot from Jets fans in the sense of keeping a good mindset.
Yankees or Mets?
Yankees.
Wow.
I think I'm a big fan of history. I love Nutley history. I spent a lot of time going to the different historical society events and, spending my own free time, my Italian heritage history, but a historic establishment like the Yankees, that's been so successful, and just seeing all the different, different legacies that have come out of that is something special and always caught my eye from a young age.
Favorite fictional doctor?
That's a good question because I don't really watch, actually, my favorite fictional doctor is Dr. Jennifer Melfi from The Sopranos. And I love The Sopranos, my favorite TV show, but Dr. Melfi is my favorite.
I was going to ask you about that since the Cozzarelli Funeral Home is a pretty important part of The Sopranos. Is there any relation?
So the Cozzarelli Funeral Home was owned and operated by my late and great cousin James J. Cozzarelli. He passed actually on June 6, 2021. 3 years later, I graduated on June 6, 2024. So, that day had a higher significance for me. But it was owned by him. It was used throughout the Sopranos series they started using it in season 3, episode 2, Proshili Voska, Goodbye Little Olivia, when Nancy Marchand, she passed away in real life and they had to, depart the character Olivia. So it was the only time The Sopranos aired 2 episodes on a Sunday back to back, the season opener and then the second one, which was the start of the Cozzarelli Funeral Home. And then they did use it throughout the rest of the series. So oftentimes they, say we're going to go to Cozzarelli's. I'll meet you at Cozzarelli's. There's a good scene of James Gandolfini, who played Tony Soprano, saying, "All right, let's just stop talking about it. Cozzarelli, you arrange everything. The wake, the funeral, you send me the bill." But I've spent a lot of time actually in the funeral home. James was very close with me, and I've actually am in works of putting together a documentary that tells the whole story of the Cozzarelli Funeral Home. It was a business establishment in operation for 138 years. It was adorned from the entire world. Just the design of it was unique by my cousin James. And then the actual Sopranos connections, and then just creating this Renaissance spirit in a lot of ways. So my documentary will be premiering in the fall, and we'll tell that story.
Based on what we talked about, there doesn't seem to be much of it, but what do you like to do when you do have some free time?
I wrote my personal statement to get into orthopedic surgery residency on winemaking. I started with talking about the principles of winemaking and bringing something from start to finish, from grape to wine, and bringing the parallels from that to surgery. Seeing a problem, fixing the problem, and then watching the result and enjoying the result. My father was really the one who started it all back in 1995. He learned how to make wine from my mother's father, Vito Mastrolia. He started because he had bad cholesterol, and he read an article that if you have a glass of red wine per day, it could help lower it. So he started making wine, and then one neighbor started joining, another neighbor started joining, and then he started putting on these wine party events. And then just this year, we celebrated our 25th annual Cozzarelli Wine Party. But it's been something that's brought together my brothers, my cousins, my father, and some friends who've joined us. And now we have a crew of people more than 20 of us, who make wine under our direction. We produce anywhere from 500 to 700 gallons per year. And it's all for fun. It's all for the pride and camaraderie throughout that process. And actually, a unique feature about the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine is that our dean, Dr. Jeffrey Boscamp, he's involved with so many different things throughout the school, the network, but he finds the time to put on the HMSOM Club, which is the winemakers club here. And we follow a curriculum, we have a textbook, and he teaches us from his own knowledge base of wine, about wine throughout the world. So he educates us on how to taste the wines, what to pay attention to, and what makes certain wines special. So that's always been something Dr. Boscamp, Dean Boscamp, and I have bonded over, is our winemaking. He's a much professional perspective of being a sommelier, and then I made that homemade wine, and I've been able to share some with him over the years. So I love making wine. I love the pride of it, and that's definitely something that fills a lot of my time. And I've actually been fortunate to even author some things on it in Winemaker magazine. So that's one of my favorite hobbies.
How has Nutley influenced your career?
Nutley has influenced my career because so much of the spirit is just built in pride. We're not a large town, but we have a lot to offer. So just creating that effort, and what makes us so special is the way we come together. And that's what I like to do when I work in groups, is just, bringing out the best in people. Certain people bring different things to the table, just like people in the Nutley community. And especially when there's a problem ahead of us, something goes wrong in the Nutley community, the way we come together and show support and really just offer that helping hand is something that was always inspiring to me, just how we could come together. And certainly something that, as a physician, as an orthopedic surgeon in my career, I hope to be able to bring together teams that will be able to deliver exceptional healthcare. And, you could be a great surgeon, but you're only as great as the people who are around you. The studies have shown too, the most efficient surgeons with the best outcomes are ones with teams that are well oiled, in the sense that they've worked together. They have this greater sense of pride in the work they're doing and what brings them together, and they're all felt as an equal. And in many ways, that's how the Nutley community works, in the sense that we come together, we work together, and we just are focused on being a great town, enjoying what are our parks, enjoying our simple celebrations, our farmers markets, our 4th of July fireworks. So that similar sense of pride in being in this community and what brings us together is the same thing that I will strive to do throughout my whole entire career.
What do you love most about our town?
The food, obviously. I mean, when you have an abundance, it's, we're really privileged in the sense, especially from the perspective of Italian American, but really, we have diversity here as well. More often than not, I'm not going to Italian restaurants when I go out, because we eat so much of that at home. No one's chicken cutlets are as good as your mother's, no matter how good someone else's are. And, my father's an excellent cook too, and both my parents bake all different types of things. But when I go out, I really like to try different restaurants and different cuisines. So we have great Italian food, we have great food of other cultures and ethnicities. And then just the people, I'm a big fan of nature, so we're not filled with forests, but the park system is something I frequent very much. Running early in the morning throughout there, especially the Kingsland Manor and the Kingsland Park is something that's really special to me. I actually did my Eagle Scout project at the Kingsland Manor many years ago. At this point, 2012, I think that was. So. I love the Nutley Parks, the food, and that's what's most special to me. And also, it's commitment to the Italian American culture. Having that we have a parade here, and that we still keep that ongoing spirit of, recognizing the contributions of Italian Americans, which is so much of what I spend time devoted to, is special to see and be able to be around that. I actually want to create a calculator based on how Italian your town is, and some of it's the things that should factor in, the population that makes up the town, the amount of restaurants, the pizzerias, do you have a parade, yes or no, all these things should be factored in, so we could really create a scale on who's the most Italian town, because they say Fairfield is, but I think when you weigh in all these different factors, in a weighted score, I think Nutley could beat them. So 50
years from now, where does Nick Cozzarelli see himself?
In 50 years from now, I really want to be living a life that, allows me to deliver, my healthcare in a way that isn't being met with so many of the barriers that exist in the current system of healthcare. when you have different people dictating how you could deliver care and telling you you can't do something that's optimal, that is not something I like. And I hope to be in a system that, practicing in a way that, I'm liberated from those barriers, in the sense that, I'm living a life that, could support me, in the sense that I could give back in that regard, that I don't have to worry about, someone else telling me how to deliver healthcare, and I could offer that in a way that, could help people, of all different backgrounds, that don't have to worry about, am I going to be able to afford something that's necessary to me? So I hope to be doing that. And then also, I have a lot of big aspirations for the Italian American community in terms of preservation of, the Nutley story, the Belleville story, the state of New Jersey, and just our contributions here. So there's a lot of different endeavors that I see in the future, and hopefully in 50 years I'll have time to do that, and then also deliver healthcare in the most optimal way.
Nick Cozzarelli, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you so much for having me. It truly is a pleasure. I love Nutley, no greater town in New Jersey and in the United States of America.
Joining us now on Inside Nutley is Dr. Jeffrey Boscamp, the Dean of the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine and one of the school's founding fathers. Welcome to Inside Nutley, Dean.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here and glad to meet you.
The Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine has quickly become a landmark, not only in Nutley, but in the state of New Jersey. Can you tell us how you first got involved in the project?
This conversation that we were talking about with our CEO and me, actually it happened at a backyard barbecue at his house. And we were talking about, what about the possibility of starting a med school? And that was kind of a crazy thing because, healthcare systems are not educational institutions. So we're not a university, although now we are. But at that point, we're really good at delivering healthcare. But why in the world would we open a school? Why would we get into teaching? And we really thought that we could have an effect. So we started talking about it, and we started looking around for potential partners. And in the end, we were looking for a site, and we had looked all over New Jersey. And then this site became available, and we said, wow, we walked around with the real estate agent that was representing Roche. And we said, this is a pretty extraordinary campus. It's a beautiful building. Roche had taken such great care of everything. Even after they had left, the floors were perfectly polished. And they were really great stewards of the place. And we kind of had to, think about it. This building where we've converted into teaching studios, to amphitheaters, to learning spaces everywhere, really was all labs. So we had to tear out all the labs and create the teaching spaces. So I always say that we really had two blessings. That one was a brand new school can teach whatever they want. You got to get the students to what they need to know, but you can do it however you want. The accreditation people that say, okay, you can open a medical school, they don't really care how you do it, but they want you to make sure that you've, really trained the students in a good way. So we said, this would be a bad opportunity missed if we didn't teach in a different way, that we thought, that the students would really learn to think and to problem solve as opposed to just memorize, which was always the standard. And so we started thinking about, we can design a curriculum that's going to be completely different, where the students mostly teach each other even more than the faculty. And that's really what we've done. So blessing number one was we had this blank slate and said, we're going to just design an amazing curriculum that's different than how other people teach. And the second part was, even a new school that has, an ambitious curriculum may not have the space to teach it. And so we had this amazing opportunity. We had this architect that specializes in new medical schools, did one in Greenville, South Carolina, and Phoenix in Oregon, and just recently in Scotland. And they had curriculum people who were architects. And we said, here's this wild curriculum. Can you build us the space to teach this? So think about it. If you're an old medical school, it's been around forever. You have 4 lecture halls. That's what you teach in. Now all of a sudden, you want to teach in small groups. You're going to need 20 or 30 small group rooms. Where are you going to get those? You just can't teach that way unless you have the right architecture. So we had the perfect combination of this building that we could take and make it into these really revolutionary teaching spaces. So that's been the other half that's really exciting, is to develop the space. And so, we looked at the building, We talked with the state, we talked with Roche. Roche was really interested in us coming here. We were very interested in the scientific legacy that was here from Roche. Interferon being first synthesized here, ceftriaxone, Valium, all these amazing drugs that all came from Nutley. That kind of fed into, we felt that there was a real legacy here. And so we were like the first to really buy in. And, this is a perfect location, and the building is extraordinary. And, I think the students are using the space and the curriculum to be extraordinary doctors. That's what we're seeing. So we'll be seating our 7th class this summer, and our 4th graduation is just 2 weeks away on June 6th. And so, our graduates are out there changing things, and they're doing great. So far, it's working.
Has the Nutley community lived up to what you expected it to be?
They've been incredibly welcoming. I have to say, one of the things that they do is at the beginning of the school year, when the new class comes in, they do a Nutley Day right in the park right across the street. A lot of the businesses have booths. They're giving out food. Students love free food. And, they're, really acquainting everybody with Nutley. But everybody's been incredibly friendly, from, even the town boards that we were going to at the beginning, trying to sell this idea. They always liked it. They thought, no one knew what was going to happen to this place. And I think, we felt that Nutley was very welcoming and really thought this would be an amazing use of the space. And I think, that's come true.
But is it also true that the main draw to have the school in town was in fact our pizza?
Well, I'm learning about the pizza. One of our students, Nick Cozzarelli, he's my source of everything Nutley. So that's funny you asked me that, because like 2 weeks ago, we were doing a student event, and I said, we're not ordering the pizza till I clear it with Nick. He knows which are the places. So, true story. And so now I know. And I don't want pizza, I won't tell which pizza place Nick thinks is the best. But there, by the way, it wasn't just one. He gave us there's apparently some very good choices in Nutley. So.
Were there any specific Nutley individuals who stand out as helping to further the project?
Well, it's hard to say, because, I really got to know all the commissioners. So without going through and naming all of them, we were around the table with every single one, and I got to know every one of them. They were all helpful. They all worked together. They really embraced this project, and you could just tell that they were looking out for the community by working together and understood what we wanted to do. But yet, I think I really got to witness the deliberations at the town meetings, and also in a lot of conferences with them. So they walked this very excellent balance of saying, we want this to come in here, but we need to protect the town. We need to understand it. We need to make sure it's not going to have any adverse effects. But overall, this kind of works in terms of, what the options could be there. We think this is great. And I think once they met our students, if there was any convincing left to do, the students are always our best ambassadors. Once you meet our students, it's like, oh my God, you have some special people there. And so just let me tell you that each year we get 6,000 applications for 165 spots. So you could figure out from that we have some really smart kids at this level who are going to be great doctors, and they're already out in the hospitals doing excellent things. So, and they're not just smart. We're very careful about who we take. We need personalities. We need people who not only could get a perfect score on their medical college admission tests or have, a 3.8 GPA. They have to be able to talk to people and relate to people. And so we have people that interview here that can't talk to people, and those people do not get in. So we're looking in our admissions that you have to show us that you can do the work. But after that, we're looking for something special that you're going to bring to medicine.
Everyone in Nutley is proud to have such a prestigious school located in our township, but most aren't aware of the inner workings of the school. Can you tell us about some of the day-to-day functions of the school?
So everything is, at the core, it's learning medicine, right? But it's so much more than that. It used to be that you did 2 years of learning all the basic science courses that you need to be a doctor. So you did physiology, and you did anatomy, and you did pathology, and you did pharmacology. They were all, separate courses, but weren't necessarily connected, and it was hard for students to connect them. And you did 2 years of that. We decided that doesn't make sense. When you're going to learn about the heart, you should learn about the drugs that treat heart disease. You should learn how the physiology of the heart cell contracts. You should learn how the heart is structured in anatomy. And you do that all together, you get the complete picture. So that's how we teach in systems-based. But in this school, at any given time, students are in small groups working on cases that they're trying to figure out together. They're in a larger group, but still operating with small groups and a lot of interaction in terms of basic content that we do. And then, students have courses where they're connected to the community. We have a course called Human Dimension, where they're connected to communities and to families, usually in underserved areas, where they can help in the community, and also learn about the challenges that families face, in certain segments. And so we want them to learn everything. I mean, I always talk about the thing that if you're sitting in a clinic isolated and you're telling somebody they have type 2 diabetes, you're going to say, okay, so here's what you need to do. You need to exercise more. You need to eat better. You start giving them tips. You don't know that this person might live in low-income housing and they don't have a grocery store within 2 miles that sells green vegetables, right? They don't have a car. They can't afford a cab. They can't exercise outside because it's not safe. And here until you go out there with them and see this, then you change and you understand what the challenges are that they face, and you do it in a different way. So that's a big part of Human Dimension is and interacting with towns and school boards and understanding the whole community is really important for a doctor. So all those activities are going on at the same time. Or you could be in the gross anatomy lab actually dissecting a cadaver and understanding the whole anatomy of the human body. So there are a lot of activities that go on any given day, all focused on learning, community, learning determinants of health, and of course, mastering all the medical knowledge. I mean, these students come in at the beginning of their first year, and during that first year, they learn an entirely new language. I was talking to the first years a couple nights ago, and I said, you don't realize it now, but when the new first years arrive in a month, you're going to say, wow, I did not know that I, did not know all those words. I didn't know how to speak medicine. You don't realize how intense that first year is in terms of acquiring everything it takes to get started in medicine until you say, wow, was that me a year ago? Really? I've come a long way. So,
How would you compare the school to others in the region?
Well, we're certainly the new student on the block. And when I talk about tabula rasa and being able to start with a blank slate, that's why we're different. So I always say, there's so many great medical schools, particularly in the New York area, and most of them have been around for a really long time. And I always say, if you're in one of those schools, like one of the very best medical schools being like Columbia, Columbia's been around since the 1700s. Everybody is pretty ingrained in what Columbia does and how Columbia teaches, and they've done a lot of, curriculum reform and things to change, but it's hard, right? I always say it's like trying to turn around the aircraft carrier. It takes a lot of effort to shift from doing something that you've always done the same way. So in that way, I think we're very different in that we're nimble and innovative, and we're willing to take risks that other people don't do that we think will lead to better outcomes with our students. So when I talk to community partners or I talk to other deans and they say, how are you doing that? I mean, how did you come up with that idea and how did you put it into play? How did you get your faculty to buy into that? I said, those things aren't such an issue for us. And really, when you're new, we have a lot of people that are into, that change is good and we're going to do things in a different way. I think our students know that and come and like that, to realize that we're different. And sometimes we're a little frustrating because we're trying to figure it out. And in the first couple of years of the school, we used to say, well, maybe that didn't work so well, but that's what happens when you're flying the plane while you're still building it. So, but we're now much more mature, and you learn along the way, just like the students. And I think we're in a good place.
Where do you see the future of the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine?
Hopefully it's straight up. That's what we're looking for. We're constantly, looking at the way we teach. You're never good enough. So, we learn along the way, just like the students learn. And so, I think our classes continuously get stronger as our reputation gets stronger. But a big thing of all the innovation we're doing here, it's not good enough to just do it with our 650 students. We want to spread the word, so we're presenting at national meetings, we're publishing in journals. The innovative stuff we do, we think would benefit everybody. So we want to be a change agent in terms of how healthcare is delivered in the country, and we think our students are going to be those ambassadors. But that's what our trajectory looks like, is to say, hey, we're doing this, nobody else is doing this, you can learn from us, and we can really spread that word.
What about the Hackensack Meridian School of Medicine makes you the most proud?
Oh, that's easy. Students, for sure. I mean, it's just the interaction with the students, how creative they are, how much they care. So it's this whole, one of the things we do in admissions. So obviously, yes, you have to be able to do the work, you have to be smart. But what we really look for in our applicants is empathy and compassion and caring. That's what we think is going to make a great doctor. And I would say almost all of our students have that, because our admissions process really looks for that. If you don't have that, you're probably not going to get in. You got to show that to us, and you have to show that you're willing to take on hard projects and make a difference, and we're really looking for that. So the students do that. And we just had a session last week where the third year students present a capstone project, which was a work that they did through the human dimension, where they're in the community and took on a project and actually made change. And when I go to that, takes the breath out of me. I mean, I cannot believe how good our students are, how much they care, and how they're willing to take on projects that most people would think are hopeless. They just have this energy and optimism that they bring to everything they do. And our job really is to make sure that doesn't go away. So even when they graduate, we really like when they come to a Hackensack Meridian residency program, because we figure we could really continue to nurture that and make them different doctors by the time they're finished. So,
when you think back to that barbecue a few years ago, did you ever think you'd get here this fast?
It's really, now that I think of it, it seems almost impossible that, the things that we've done, and it's a bumpy road. Starting a new medical school is not for the faint of heart, for sure. But we just kept going, and I have to say, when I was, presiding over my first graduation, I had goosebumps the entire time. I mean, I just looked out at this class, at this auditorium, and all the faculty, everybody in cap and gowns, and said, how in the world did we get here? I mean, I am so proud of how this all came together, and so much work by so many people, but it's here, and it's real, and it's respected across the country. So what's happening in Nutley is well known to deans all the way across the United States.
Dean Boscamp, thank you so much for joining us on Inside Nutley. It's been a privilege.
Thanks for having me on the show, and thanks to all of Nutley for being so welcoming to our students and really helping take care of them and make them feel part of the community.